Hello there, producers. Obviously, Rick Tamlin here. It is just about a week since our time together at Produce You, the virtual event. Um, I am holding and trusting and knowing and hoping that something has had resonated with you at our time together and has stayed with you, and either a concept or some content uh, grabbed your imagination and you linked it into your world, you integrated into your coaching, you brought it to a training, you did a blog post about it, you offered insight to your clients from it. I'm holding and hoping something actually, a piece of content, if you will, or concept grabbed you and said, yes, I'm going to go off and talk about that. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. It was so fun. I love putting events like that on in this whole virtual world. Thank you for hanging with it for 3 days. The number of folks who stayed with us for the full 3 days was remarkable. We were super excited by that. Thank you for the dancing and the playfulness, and also the depth and the commitment to the conversation that you had with each other. More to come with these kinds of events, because I want to be the voice for all of you, that when you hear out there that people are zoomed out, I mean, they're exhausted by staring at a screen. I want to yes and it. I understand it. We're sitting a long time. We're in front of a camera. That world can feel tiresome. But I also want to be the voice of, if you create an compelling and interesting and engaging and dynamic and emotionally changing experience, you'd be surprised how long people can be with and hang with and want to be a part of a virtual event like this. So I hope that was useful for you as well, to sort of see and go away with some ideas like, what could I do? Like, for the example, many people from our events have gone off and bought these magic boards, right? And sent markers with them and that whole deal. So this one is very sticky. We're actually being known for it a little bit. So feel free to go use that with your clients, with your workshops, your trainings, your teachings that are 99.99% virtual. So that's the first thing, just a week out. Hopefully something is stuck, and you're on our mailing list. We're going to do a follow-up call to see what has stuck and how I might support, and see where your head's at, and what's next with your good work in the world, because that was the job, is to activate you to have your good work and your message and your passion and your sort of aliveness with the thing that you care about deeply go out in the world more. I know you knew that, and I know you knew that going in, and I hope you hear that coming out of our time together. That was its task and its agenda, and I'm so hoping and holding that for some of you that indeed happened. So with that said, many of you asked at our event when I did an exercise around the Mobius loop. Remember the Mobius loop? That thing, I'm going to walk you through it in a minute. Many of you said, can you make us a video of exactly what you did there? Because I want to bring this into my world and train this to my organization, train this into my clients, or train, you could do this one-on-one with your clients. You could do this with a team. You could do this with a pop-up training. You could even do it on Facebook Live. Because I'm going to give you many, many contexts in which to use this concept or this idea, because it's such a good learning point. Okay. So a little bit of setup before I walk you through the actual sort of exercise of it. Let me just get my final all the things I need to make it work. So, part of the event I wanted to make sure you all start to understand is you got to set context for things, right? So the context of the Mobius loop inside my event, and of course you can apply this to your world or find your version of what's the context you want to use this content and this concept. But the context for me was making sure you all understood that producing you is both an inside job and an outside job. Excuse me, just a quick cough. That it's both the internal work and the external expression of your work, both are needed. That's the context of the Mobius loop, and the Mobius loop makes that point beautifully. So now let me just walk you through exactly what I did at the event. And again, translate it or transpose it or give it a spin or a perspective that'll work in your world. Okay. So the stuff you need is just one piece of, plain white paper. Doesn't matter the size, 8.5 by 11 or A9. If you're in Europe, that's the size of the paper in Europe. Scotch tape, scissors, dark marker, preferably a darker color. Okay. So here we go. This is literally what I had you all do. So take the piece of white paper, fold it in half. Okay. Right. Fold it directly in half. Okay. So there'll be the fold side and there'll be the open side. There's the open side. There's the fold side, right? Showing it up to the camera. There's the fold side. There's the open side. So you're going to simply cut about halfway, right? There's halfway. Just cut down the middle as straight as you can. Don't have to worry about perfectionism here. This is just about cutting it in half, okay? The fold side, you can let go. Okay, now you have 2 strips, okay? And you're gonna make 1 big strip. So you're gonna take your Scotch tape and link them together. I put tape on both sides, which I'll show you in a moment. I know it's not on camera right now. There we go. There's tape on both sides. Creates 1 long strip, right? What I did then with all of you, and I have an update to this from some feedback from one of you gave me, but I'm just going to do it the way I did it, and then I'll give you the updated version. Then I had you all take the dark marker and draw a line down the middle of both sides. So there's one side, and I did it on the other side as well. Okay. And they sort of, it's just down the middle of both sides, right? You'll see why in a minute, why it has to happen on both sides. Okay. So then I had you write sort of the inner on one side, and I put it on both ends. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. And then the other side I wrote outer. Okay. So there's the inner. Let me just turn it around so you can read it. Inner, and I put it on both sides, just, I mean, on 2 places. And then I did the outer. Again, let me make sure you can read it. Outer, right? So here's how I rolled it out with all of you. So for many of us, I just created a standard loop, right? For many of us, we love the inner work, right? We do the inner work. We love going to workshops. We love learning about ourselves. We love the sort of inner mechanics and maybe the psychology of understanding leadership or whatever the thing is you're up to. And as maybe as a life coach, we love the inner work is needed a lot. What are my perspectives? What are my values? What are my emotions that need attention? That's the one's inner life, right? One's outer life is me being out in the world. This is not complicated. This is my work out in the world. This is my my marketing plan. What am I selling? It's the outer expression of one's inner passion, right? Sort of imagine passion lives inwardly, and then when I share it with the world, it needs to go out. And in the land of Produce You, and again, that's the context of our time together. This is what I said to all of you. In the land of producing you, both are needed. But for some of us, we need to do more inner work. So the outer work has more sort of gravitas, my presence and my power and my passion and my belief in it. That's inner work. That's confidence building. That's about commitment. That's the essence of self, right? The being of self. You could use the word being for inner and doing for outer. But for some of us, we're doing the outer work a lot and it's not working because sometimes the inner work is what's missing. People they don't feel the gravitas of it. They just feel the sort of the transactional conversation maybe versus the transformational conversation you want to put people in. And for us, some others of us, we're just doing the inner work. We're not coming out at all. We're not out in the world. We don't know how to come out into the world. We don't want to come out into the world. It's too vulnerable. I don't want anybody to know what I'm doing. This is the sort of, nobody, I'm the best kept secret, right? And we need to come out about it. So again, context of this is produce you, is producing you. Both are needed. But we tend to, we're just caught in the loop of the inner work, or we're caught in the loop of the outer work. Make sense enough? Good. So to create a Mobius loop, you take one end and you just twist it, right? 180 degrees. And you take your tape and you connect. Gonna make that a little bit more like it's sort of even, right? You connect, and I put tape on both sides, right? Okay, so now you'll notice if you follow the line and you follow the language, just follow the line. It's inner. I'm following the line. It's still inner. And then all of a sudden it bounces to outer. I'm still following the same line. I haven't left my finger has not left the paper. And if I just keep following it, outer, 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 and then magically it turns to inner. The point being is this is a constant loop, sort of an infinity loop of inner work goes out, outer work goes in, inner work goes out, outer work goes in. I like to speak about it in this terminology, that when one does one's work in the world, you will grow. So for many of us, we need to do more outer expression of our work, i.e. marketing and messaging and putting it out there. You will grow, the inner work will respond accordingly. You'll experience a vulnerability hangover. You'll experience a level of maybe some fear that you've never experienced before. You'll experience a level of excitement and passion you've never experienced before because you just put it out there and oh my gosh, that's so exciting. So the inner work, the inner self will be impacted by the outer expression of self. And sometimes we need to do the inner work. I need to go for a walk. I need to calm down. I need to not do any marketing for the next 2 hours. I just need to get grounded again. I need to remember what I'm all about. I'll be really transparent with all of you. Today is Thursday. I twice a month, I have an incredibly dynamic and powerful therapy call with a Jungian therapist. If anybody you know the world of the Jungian therapist, it's a lot of the unconscious self. I love this work. I've been working with this gentleman. He's a mentor of mine now for the last 8 years of my life. That is the inner work that I do. So the outer work can remain resident and resonant, and I can feel sort of good about it. How to be with it when it doesn't work, because it always won't work. But so the inner self has some handles to grab onto, and this is why I work with this gentleman, because left to my own devices, I will spin out. You know what I'm talking about. So in the land of Produce You, both are happening at the same time. You're putting your work out there, inner work is happening. And by the way, when you do the inner work, the outer work responds accordingly. When you do the outer work, the inner work responds accordingly. In some other language I've learned or concepts, here's another way to say it. My outer life is a reflection of my inner life. Some of you know that concept, right? If I want to look to what's going on in myself, look to my world, what's happening. Am I experiencing a lot of fear? Am I noticing a lot of anxiety out there? Well, where does it come? Where does it get started? Where does it happen? It all starts inside of me. So my outer world is a reflection of my inner world. Try that on. I happen to believe I'm a bit of a believer in that. So your work in the world, your productions, if you will, your producing self, going to be dancing between these all the time. Welcome to Producing You. And that's the dance of it. Now, the next thing I did, and you can do this with your clients, is here's the cool thing. Just kind of go with me on the instructions. So you just fold it anywhere. Just fold it anywhere, make a little fold, okay, just like that in the loop, okay? And then what you do is you take your scissors and you just cut, I'm gonna put this in front of the camera, cut along the line just for like a ½ inch to create a little bit of an opening. Then you take your scissors and go through that, into that hole there, and then you cut along the black line or the dark marker line, and keep cutting, just follow the line, keep cutting, go all the way around till you come back around, so you'll reach the point where you're started cutting. And you know what create? It's still a Mobius loop, but it just got bigger. So the metaphor for that, which I shared with all of you, is when you do this work, when you both do the inner work and the outer work, it expands. It can't help itself. It just starts to get bigger because you're committed to it. You're doing the inner work. You're doing the outer marketing messaging. It just can't help itself. Does it go at the speed you want it to? That's a different workshop. But it cannot help but not expand itself because you are doing the inner work and the outer work at the same time, all in service of getting your good work out there. So there's the Mobius loop expanding. So that's the metaphor of when you do this inner outer work, it will expand. And by cutting that, the metaphor just got real in a physical, tangible way. Okay. So I hope that made sense. Again, I gave it the same context that I did at the event. Let me give you a couple of ideas on how to use this into your world. You could just have them make the Mobius loop. If you're in the leadership development space, which many of you are, you could easily talk about the inner work of a leader is just as important as the strategic work of leadership. Right? Strategic strategy sessions are the outer work, but the presence and the energy and the essence and the inspiration and the being of leader is equally as important, if not more so, with the strategy and the tactics and the doing. So you could do being and doing. The inner work in the leadership space, you could say presence and performance. Inner work, we could have them write presence, and the outer work is the performance, right? How's it going out here with the tactics and all the doing and strategy and all that stuff? So that's an application in the leadership space, an application in the life coaching one-on-one space. Easy. We're going to talk about your inner life, and we're going to have you take action for the outer life that you want for yourself. And you could just literally walk them through that. You could have this be a part of the enrollment session, right? Be a great enrollment tool to have them understand what's going to really happen, because it's a great sort of physical representation of both being and doing. Another application is in the health space. Right. Of course, the outer work in the health, let's say diet, let's say, getting fitter and losing weight. Let's say that's the goal if you're in the losing weight space. Of course, there's the outer work called eat less or portion control or whatever it is, or less fat or whatever that thing is you believe in, right? That's the outer work. And yet the inner work is equally as important. How do you talk to yourself about your body? Do you sort of love this body? Do you shame your body? That's the inner work. Just as an example of that, who's handling this beautifully in the health, quote unquote, losing weight and lifestyle space is Noom, N-O-O-M. So it's an incredibly successful lifestyle, lose weight, industry, and they are spending equal amounts of time on this as they are on this. So the inner conversation, they're training people on how that goes. It's fascinating. They're doing quote unquote life coachy conversations with the outcome called better body, better energy. So that's an example, by the way, in the health space, how you could use this. The inner conversation you're having is so impacting the outer experiencing that you're having with your body and your sense of self and your sense of purpose and your sense of aliveness and your sense of energy. So I hope that was useful. Go use it. There's cool videos out there online. I just looked up, when I came up with this concept, I just looked up online and go, how do you make a Mobius loop? And then there were all kinds of great videos on, you could even do it one more time. I won't go into the details, but there's like people who have turned this into like origami. It's so fascinating. So, and I just had one more thought for you that I just lost that I wanted to, in terms of an event and creating a more engaging Zoom experience, if imagine you did this with a group of people, here's the coolest thing. None of you were prepared for this. I just said, go get this, go get this stuff, right? Go get the tape, go get the scissors. And I gave it to you as a homework assignment. Go get the marker, go get the paper. And, didn't even tell you what it was for. I said, just, on this break, go get the paper. And first of all, that's going to get people out of their seats. They get to move, they get to go around their house. Now it's a little treasure hunt, go look for the stuff. So really from a simplistic or somewhat logistic, it's getting people to move when they're on a Zoom call, right? The other thing is now we're doing arts and crafts together on a Zoom call. You're not just watching something, you're actually doing something together. And so when I design these events, I'm always thinking, what can I have them do, right? They're not going to just watch. Right? What can they do in their own home, right? And if you were at an event, the entire time, I had you go get clothing, had you do different things, but lots of doing while you're on a Zoom call. So what I loved about this is like a 3-for-1. The learning, the metaphor was deep, the experientialness of it, doing it together. It was an arts and crafts moment. Had you all do something, and then the lesson from it and the learning from it was off the charts. And many of you said, I have to go use this. And this video was requested by many of you to make sure that you understand how to use it. So I hope this is useful. Thank you for doing your good work in the world. It was a pleasure to be with you. Hope to see you at another event. I do lots of free pop-up trainings along the way. You're on our email list. Please feel free to, of course, jump back in, and because I'm very much interested, as you know, in the sort of leadership development, personal growth space, and how that happens most is by putting ourselves out in the world. Like, I have learned so much about myself because I'm actually putting myself out in the world more. It activates my stuff. It activates my creativity. It activates my inner critic. It is the fastest personal growth experience that I've ever created for myself, is to put my work out into the world and to put my products out into the world and put my trainings out into the world and put my services out into the world. I believe at my core, that's the fastest way to become the person we want to become. Because I know a lot of people who get caught in the, let me figure this out first and then I'll go out. I'm a little countercultural to that. I'm the let's go out and I will figure myself out. That's the key phrase, by the way. Let me go out and then I will figure myself out. And thank you for doing your good work in the world. Hope this was useful, and don't be a stranger. Be in our world. You'll see lots of cool stuff coming from us. So be well, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, week, weekend, whatever time you're watching this. So be well. Bye for now.